ATA? Backtrack. Oh no. Not that bad. That bad. We're just fixing up one panel. I wasn't super keen on just a panel with just a mouth. Felt unnecessary. Switched it out for something that just provides a little bit more um, visual explanation. But without further ado, go check it. How you doing? Yeah. As you can see, it's not too bad of a change. It's only one frame that's different, essentially. And it's not too badly different. Not bad, not changing much. I reworked the whole storyboard for chapter 2. That would be insane. I would not. Like that, I would actually rather just accept what I wasn't happy with and move on. I don't think I could do that. Oh man, that'd be insane. Imagine though, I'm just like, hey guys, I just decided that I'm gonna change the entirety of chapter 2. Come on this journey with me. I mean, I've done craziest, like, I completely redid the entire first chapter, or not the entire first chapter, but a lot of the first chapter when I was working in Photoshop. So it wouldn't be, I mean, it's not going to happen, but it wouldn't be against the realms of possibility. Not going to be Ratchet's hand. I mean, that does, in a sense, make things, but I also just try to do this properly. I'm also starting from, like, the next panel, I'm just starting again because I want to do Maka's, like, body formation. Just, I feel like I'd be happier if I did it all at once as opposed to, like, head, then shoulders, then so, which not an ideal way of actually drawing a full body figure. I mean, you can do it that way, but it's just not advised, for lack of a better word. How am I? I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing all right. I was at work today, so that was. But for the most part, I was also working on my timeline. I'm currently putting together the Rat Baby timeline, so like the chronological set of events going to happen in all comics, because some of the one of the spin-offs actually takes place during the events of the comic, during the events of this comic, and so I need to make sure that is all lined up, for lack of a better word, and that I know when that's going to happen, and so on and so forth. So I was doing that today for a little bit, and I described it. It was kind of like knitting essentially, because I was knitting together story beats time essentially. And it was kind of cool. It was kind of fun that way. But it's also like a ton of work. I'm nowhere close to being finished with that, and so as a result, it's like it feels like just a monumental task. But if I do it, then it means I probably won't need a manuscript, and I can actually be a little bit more loosey goosey how I make the comic, which is something I would actually really, because up until now I've been following a manuscript essentially. Um, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Only thing it doesn't necessarily feel as fluid as it could. I always feel like there's more I could at respect. Also, it gives like a better like example of what's going on, like as opposed to that other one where we just fuck his mouth. Uh, this one is like we see Ratchet putting away his coin pouch and like that, and Mucker like curling his hand up with clovers in it. No, it's just a little bit more like narrative. I love that stuff. We see a bit more, and my intention comic like a lot of the comic will be told because that's how comics work is like in the action or in the dialogue. But I'd also love to have stuff that is seen but not told. So I would much rather have a comic panel that actually does a little more that showing as opposed to talking. Yeah, it's just one of those keen on, just keen on as a writer. I'm a comic artist, but I'm also a writer for stuff best that you can for it, and also do written stuff justice. Girl's fingers of the hand. I've seen things you people attack ships off, attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be time like rain. No, that's a good Blade Runner. Love it. Girl's fingers in hand gives a narrative in the brain. When a dove fly masculine clenches fist, masculinely clenches fist, but to reveal vulnerability. It is cool. I only watched Blade Runner for the first time recently, and it's oh man, what a film! A little bit weird, but in a good way. It's alternative, I would say. I love that. Oh yeah, it's the thing. It's that quiet symbolism, not quiet, subtle symbol. Quiet's not a word I would use for motif. Yeah, but I'm a big fan of like I really liked Blade Runner. I only watched it recently, which is a shame because I would have. No, it's one of those films that I wish I'd seen earlier. And worse still, I watched the sequel before it, or seeing the original. Um, but I also love the original. I mean, not the original. I love the sequel, which is I think it's like almost unpopular opinion, like a box office um, failure. It doesn't matter. Actually, is nothing. Yeah. I guess this also gives like not a visual motif, but visual explanation that if you actually wanted to rob Ratchet, you could find his pouch in his backpack and not on his person. There's stuff like that, which is like completely superfluous to the story, but like little details about Ratchet, he wouldn't keep money on his person, which actually might be important later. Not going to give anything away, but it might actually be later that Ratchet doesn't keep money on his bag. That very easily kind of be taken from. Oh, it might also be, hey, Zombie Slayer, how you doing? Greetings, Lord Greymass. Lovely to see you. It's also, it would also be nice to note that I had to, not didn't have to, but I ended up showing my coworkers, video, um, a Grey Mouse video, and not a whole stream, but like a highlight. It was the dredge highlight of me screaming at at that anglerfish that was chasing me, telling it to fuck off. Really high pitched. I loved it. What's up? Not much. Just chilling out. We've kind of done a bit of a backtrack. So changed up the this panel, the one of Maka's mouth talking. I've changed that to Ratchet putting away his coin pouch. Just because I thought it would be more interesting. I used the sleeping with back against the wall recently, so obscure reference. I think you pulled it off. Oh, that's good. No, but that's cool. Blade Runner is a cool beta quote, I think, as well, because like if people get it, then you've got something really cool to talk about. Like Blade Runner it's almost in the modern day, it's almost niche, but it is a classic. So you'll find people about it, but yeah, sometimes people are like, what the fuck? Um, was the clip also when you were doing a Scottish accent? No, I didn't show them that one. I haven't put a clip together for that one. Just because for me personally, I didn't. I was like, ugh, I don't like hearing myself with that accent. Just because I didn't think it sounded very good. I thought it sounded funny, but like I didn't think it sounded good, so I didn't show them that. It was just me screaming at the anglerfish that was chasing me, as and like the highest my voice ever goes, like in that video. That one was good. They loved it. That's hilarious. A grey mouse. No, no. You need to keep one step removed to maintain your anonymity. Remember, shared isn't anymore. Well, it's not a secret. It's not a secret to them. They can know who Grey Mouse is. I just can't share who I am, as I'm Grey Mouse. I'm Grey Mouse. That being said, is your coworker cool? My coworkers are great. I showed all of them. Well, I showed most of them. They're lovely. They're lovely, lovely people. Um, I am a big fan of them all. And actually, they're super supportive of the comic. So, with that said, they're also just fantastic, fantastically supportive. In a way, I didn't expect from a workplace. Kind of you go there to work, but I've really found a bunch of people who are just wonderful. So I think that is also the exception, that I just have a wonderful workplace. So as a result, I'm kind of more free to kind of show my goofy stuff. Yeah, they're worried, worried about sharing that goofy stuff. If anything, I'm just encouraged to do. Also, one of those things like it's weird to think, but like one of my coworkers is actually a fan of my. I used to do a podcast. Um, I don't do it anymore because I just time. I wanted to other dreams like that, but one of my coworkers was a fan of my podcast. I mean, he listened to it after he met me, and then he was like, "I actually really liked your podcast, and I've listened to all the episodes and stuff." Really heartwarming. But yeah, again, it's just one of those um, workplaces where I actually am encouraged to hey things that I enjoy and am passionate about, which is I couldn't ask for anything better than that. I know, right? It's rare to find a workplace that's so accepting. I managed. Managed somehow. I love that the music is. I can't place it. Anime music. I can't place where it is, but like super soft and wholesome thing that I'm talking about. I'm just like, no, stop being wholesome, Grey House. Stop being upbeat and positive. Fuck that. Be angry. Visual differentiation of items. Ugh, ugh. I believe it. Disgusting. Also, one of the tactics I now to make my process slightly easier. I always say you can't choose your coworkers, but parents. That's really neat, man. That's an interesting um, perspective. I like that. Um, yeah, it's really neat. I'm very lucky, very lucky. A workplace. Ah, shit. Highlights. Yeah. And hey, if it weren't for that workplace, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't have the time or or the support to do this. So it all worked out. Oh shit. It's from. This is Tokyo Ghoul, isn't it? He's soft and sweet Tokyo lo-fi. That's good. I like that. I love Tokyo. Loved Tokyo. Then it got a bit. Sorry, I just had a thought. I've about my workplace and stuff. Also had that talk about like if I went full time with this comic and I had to on from my work, I'd be devastated in a sense. I'd be like super happy because I could work on something I love full time, and also I'd be devastated because I'd leave that workplace. Um, but I'm lucky because I don't need to think about that for a little while, which is I don't have to worry about that for a fairly long time, which I'm happy about. Like my current arrangement. But yeah, we've talked about it. How it would be a little bit sad, a little bit bitter. And because they support me, they would want the best, like what's best for me, stuff like that. They would support my decision. at socks because they don't just, no, you can't do that. You have to stay here. They would just support me. And in a sense, is heartbreaking. Also, good of them. That like almost like not heartbreaking. It's not tragic, but it's like sad reality that it's what you and stuff. Again, weird and dumb and sentimental. So thinking the like at the end of the day, probably. Know what Ratchet looks like as well, so we know, have a good sense of who this character is. History kind of at his head. All the shit that bit. Definitely not. There we go. Much more betterer. Much more better lines. Fantastic. A Pokemon is low. Wow. I always said I always Pokemon needed a lo-fi. Chan okay. I don't know. Let's go back. Wait, no, I don't need to go back. It is left hand. The thing where I looked at the small panel side and then closed my eyes and imagined the side that it was on. Left hand. That's the hand that he has out, so I need for his wedding ring. Fuck. Fuck. Just gotta line work. Part of my process just cleaning up my own mess every so often. But if you close your eyes, exactly, does it always feel like nothing's changed it? I almost sang it. Amazing artist skill, some of X-ray. Well, it was more just imagination, just closing my eyes and being like, is this the left hand? I could have put my hands out and looked, but instead I just closed my eyes and imagined a set of hands. I know, crazy, but like it's how my brain kind of processes information sometimes. Ain't they wild? The brain, especially my brain process. I'm not, so it's BRMM, which is of course for partners now. Upside down. So, like that. It would just be an R. That's it. Simple. Effective. Does it work? Yes. Cool. No. You have to live mind like brain, this mouse brain. Not gonna. Oh, I thought that was the Hollow Knight theme. I don't know why I got so excited. I picked an anime playlist. The fuck was I thinking? I knew that Hollow Knight was included on this playlist. Love Hollow Knight so much. Before you say, I'll just put some Hollow Knight lo-fi on. I've done that before. There is very little Hollow Knight lo-fi. Heartbreak. A little light. Might actually right to it. There we go. Does need to be. Probably not. No, it all looks. Actually, they're added. Spoke too soon. Just lights. Lights will move. It's a terrible trait I have, but I just add any like white coloration to the light panel. I'm either lazy or just mean for either of that. Better, much better. Samey songs. Oh, oh, but it's bad, but it's like through. I could just That's better. Much more better. With that said and done, that panel done. And how much I like that a lot better. Not quite as boring. First line work. Instead of do. It'll do. By just making shape. There we go. There's a thick neck. That's the kind of neck you want on your character. If they were a big, beefy. Yes. I want my salad too. I am solitary. But Belly, I like characters. This is awfully loud. Poppin' beats, but loud. Out in him his apron. You know me, I love a barista. Or just an ape. I love a good apron. Yeah. Terrible. Terrible. Oh, that's a fucked up figure. One of the things I do like to do about hands is exaggerate certain small features. These fingers I will be fixing. Like, little bump here is never that big or like protruded. But I found that I actually like that. Let me say it. Mouse, I never saw much of Korra, probably didn't even get through the first half of season one, but do you think the explaining of what happened at the time stuff is a good idea for Korra? I don't know, honestly. Like, I mean, for that stuff, I'm not one to judge, because I'm probably going to do stuff similar to that in this comic. But I don't, I actually, here's my perspective on it. I don't think that a series based in a time that was after a long time, like a huge time jump, like Korra was for Avatar, should be allowed to kind of fall back on a past, on something beyond that past. You actually have a timeline that you have. If you go back a bit further than that to a point that Aang didn't know, then you're kind of cheating and introducing new stuff. Like you're adding in new concepts that change the rules for Avatar: The Last Airbender, that didn't exist during Avatar: The Last Airbender. And it's almost my argument that they kind of elevated Legend of Korra by shitting on Avatar, and that's not a good way of writing your story, like writing a new story by basically grading what you made before or downplaying what you did. That's not a good way of writing a story. Because it goes with everything when you explain it. Yes, it's official, but will it be a good idea? Maybe, maybe not. But if you don't explain, yes, it'll never happen. In the eyes of the fans, whatever they want to happen, what happens. Does that make sense? A little bit, yeah. I get what you mean. I do get what you mean. Yeah, it's one of those things that I just definitely feel was necessary, for lack of a better word. Some things just don't need to be done. Like, if you can't explain your story, oh man, his hands are all over the place a little bit. That's okay. That's okay. If you can't explain your story in that present timeline without having to go back, um, gotta have a good reason for it. Gotta have good reasons for flashbacks, I think. And I mean, this story starts with a flashback, and did the flashback for a good well, for a very specific reason. I wouldn't say good because I don't think I'm the authority on. But basically, the reason I had a flashback right at the start of this story is because it establishes character. So because we've never met, and I'm gonna explain what I mean through my own comic, because then we get a little bit of insight on my comic, we get a little insight on story writing, we get a little insight on a few things. But for me, I felt that the best way to establish character, and especially the character of Ratchet, is I wanted to establish his skills, experience, and backstory in a really bite-sized chunk. So one of the things I've learned is that you want to be able to get a sense of your character with the first 10 pages of a book, within the first 10 pages of a screenplay, within the first 10 pages or maybe more of a comic. Ratchet, I didn't want him to be thrown into battle. That would probably very clearly disorient people. The idea, the intention with that Ratchet is a capable and physically imposing figure within this world, but he is also a child. How do you best convey that? And the way I thought was have him play in carnival games and do unnecessarily well. And then through that, I could establish his connection to his adoptive father, Dogen. Through that, we could kind of get a sense of who Dogen was as a character. How do I establish that Ratchet is kind hearted? I have him intentionally lose against Dogen at his carnival game, things like that. So you really need to kind of be sure of what you want from the flashback before you do a flashback. I'm not sure if I did or didn't like it, but I'm sure a lot of people they leave it up to interpretation. Everyone gets their own canon, but that's just yeah, that's also like if it's up for interpretation, then it's up for interpretation, right? And people will interpret it however they want to interpret it. That's mostly dependent on their comprehension of the story itself, as opposed to anything else, which is totally fine. However, how much people take in is kind of dependent on how much you present in a bite-sized or digestible kind of amount. You catch my meaning. About what you said about flashbacks, you also don't want to write yourself into a corner. Yeah, absolutely. You have to really be sure of what you're doing when you flashback or anything. I mean that rule could be every writing trope. And I think people just assume that when you use the term trope, you shouldn't use it. You should avoid it as much as possible. Use flashbacks. You can use narration. You know, exposition. I'm not a big fan of exposition, but like verbal exposition, but like you can use it. It's just like writing is an art form, and so you mediums for like for different for whatever you're making. It's like the current debate that's going on that I can see about the use of purple as a shadow color in people's art, and some people are like arguing, oh, don't use it, don't use purple shadow color, and some people going like, use it, and it's like it's just different. Like you're kind of free to do whatever you want at that point. If you guys are arguing over the use of a certain color shadows, you're probably arguing about the wrong, you know? There are so many more important things focused on. There we go. That's way better. I'm so much more happy. I started the whole body as opposed to just Marker's head. Actually not even drawn his head in yet. Loose. Everybody has it. Make sure I get it right. Punch. Don't need too much cake. Fine. Yeah. Don't need much cake. What I believe. Aunties. And now I actually have a head for it. Only the master of all four narrative structures, but when the world building needed most, he went and wrote enough. I believe something Hollywood writer skill. I mean, always the chance, always a possibility. That always the way, ain't it? Ain't that always the way? There's always chaos of some sort. trying to kind of get grounding anchor. Incredible eyebrows. There we go. That much because he filled his head in parts, just so that I do a loyal enough job. I'm looking at, looking for. Butter booey. Where am I? Butter bing. Looking for. That's the word. Funny thought we seek perfect shows because in the naivete of our childhood, various media was perfect. Yeah, we kind of chase that nostalgia or something that will tickle that nostalgia again. Sometimes it can be very hard to find, almost impossible to find. Doable, but it is, yeah, immensely hard. And as, like, I'll be honest, as, um, TV shows and stuff worse, um, it's become less rewarding to search something that will scratch that itch. You actually just end up rewatching the stuff that you felt comfortable watching, your comfort shows. It's fine if you don't mind the repetition, but can be a bit dull not finding anything new. Like, guess I'll watch Parasite again. Again, not a bad thing, but I kind of always want to find something new that will scratch that itch. Yep, no, it's yeah, you get it, get it. Slightly more Roman. I love those. Oh no, it's gone straight. I want that curve. There we go. Yeah, way better. That's a much better marker. Actually, right. Those a bit. That's okay. Those a bit big now. An increment thing. Like it's such an incremental part to the side. Yeah, he looks like a fish man. Like a fish. Yep, there we go. And I'll give him another arm as well because his current one is non-existent. little thing, but where his arm is. And we won't see it because Ratchet's head's in the way. But like, I've drawn it. It's done. It's done. Oh, we need not worry. Some things you kind of know. There you go. Got a window. Got a window. Fine. Yeah, good. Ah, good. Lines are a bit fine. nice and in. Oh, that's not the pen, not the pen tool. Cool. Way happier with the panel in what I drew last time. Just a little bit better. Just a little. And now for my favorite bit, the juvenile coloring in our style. Oh, that's knew that was not the color I wanted. Yet I did it. Hands. Actually, no, I can't make it a still look like he's naked underneath the apron, and that's not the kind of impression I want to give off. Fucker. Then orange pants, and I'm also gonna add like stripes and what stripe, not stripes, but plaiding. I think that's lovely. Everything other than the bottles, but they're gonna. It is all the rage. Pick the largest color and color in, like you just don't care, like a kid drawing outside, outside the across the lines everywhere. And you pick the second largest, or whichever one. As the name suggests, you don't really need to lend a lot of formal theory to color. Learn the mistakes you make. Doesn't matter if you don't color lines immediately. Get there. Get there. It will all be. What I was thinking. Just color pick around and being like, oh yeah, I'll just fill in the yellow bit now. that mustache. Know what to embrace. But pretend that you don't. Little bump. No, it's fine then. But myself. Ugh. There you go. Better. Much better. Cleaner. Somewhat. Somewhat cleaner. And add a light. color in his eye. Other than that. Look. All right, all right, all right, all right. Dungeon. Bunch of shadows. Sound. Crinkling of packages. Packaging. Behind it. Wait, hold on. Excuse myself. Let's see. To me. Apologies. Bless myself. Ugh. slightly higher. Slightly higher. And easy. Now, actually, darkness. Well, not worth time. Can't just not choose where a shadow is coming from. Works. Shadows exist. I like to hear. Photo looks like the one highlight. line work going forward. But I much that does. But Hell yeah. Pants. Pants are cool. Those are actually great looking pants. Panel pants. Oh, yes. Yes. Now we've got an hour left. Maybe. Maybe. Fingers crossed. Good. Fucking awesome. Give 'em- All right. Black color. Fine, wrong layer. Doesn't then I mean, ratchet outside of the panel. Choose. There you go. We've given him a box. Given him a box. I might draw. Oh, hold on. I know exactly what. think I'd give myself an easy. I didn't know. Perfecto. Reference. Only been one chapter. So, oh, well, enough. I had more space. Nope. We'll stamp. It's perfect. Up. Nope. Ugh. Ugh. Plenty of time. Finish this. While. All right, now the complicated. That is going to be slightly complicated. know his types of one color. That's so cute. Yay. Books. Love it. Absolutely. Oh, hands. Presence of Ratchet. Hydrate. And I need. What? Okay, thank you. But hydrate. We're almost done. We're almost done with this page. Oh, so close. So we'll see how we go. We get to the 3 hour mark, and I'm so close to might just pull through. Take care of myself. Take care of myself. Comic will be one way or that Korra only goes through character development. It kind of seems like that. I can't know for certain. I kind of dropped off at season one, but I've not read, seen a lot of character analysis, and it gives this impression that she only goes well. She's only like punished in growing as a person, so only through punishments you actually kind of learn from her mistakes. Well, not even that, but only through like actually being told like you are, you're doing the wrong fucking thing, or through trauma to grow. That's not a character. I would say. Yeah. You also really shouldn't have a character growth just through trauma. Like, well, how it becomes less and less believable that they develop into a healthy. It doesn't necessarily, like, even if you've got strong will, don't really grow through purely grow through a series of things. Positive role models, things. Positive goals, not all just trauma. I think having a character that is purely developed trauma feels weird because it sends the wrong kind of message. That AK of Korra as a show. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Oh, is AK of Korra show? Any of Korra good? Oh, thank you. My brain was like down. It was one letter that I just couldn't get my head around. Um, any of Korra good as a show? Yeah, there are plenty of good things about it for sure. I just think it loses direction quite quickly, and as a result, it kind of feels a bit all over the place. But the because so here's the thing. I do apologize. I just got a wave of tiredness. That's fair enough. I can respect that 100%. Actually, one thing that I do find really good is their depiction of villains. The villains are really, and I like how they never have another fire-bending villain in Korra because the entire Fire Nation was essentially bad in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Uh, and what I really liked is the depiction of a evil, or not evil, but bad airbender in Zahir in the fourth season. He's great. He's a fantastic villain. Because it goes to show how all mentalities and all beliefs can be shaped to be violent or negative. And I think all of the villains in Legend of Korra actually do a job of that. And is there a reason why it looks like Korra creators are shitting on Avatar: The Last Airbender? So they're the same creators, so it's still the same writers. Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, but I think it's optimized in what I said uh, a little while back. In that, a form of elevating your character is by making the environment worse around them, and so as a result, this is like so. Chainsaw Man is a really good example of that done well. So in Chainsaw Man, Denki is not a good guy, but he's a bit of a creep and he's weird. Um, However, everyone around him is significantly worse. So as a result, he is our protagonist. He's our hero, and you grow to like him because he is the better of many evil. Legend of Korra doesn't do that quite as well, but essentially they make Korra seem like a better avatar by making Aang seem like a worse avatar in the future. We know that Avatar Kyoshi got rid of some earthbending warlord, but that's one of the few non-Fire Lord villains besides animals and insects, of course. Yeah, well, actually, so what I find interesting, in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the main villain is a firebender, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other like villains of other nations, which is good because that's an important thing to have that distinction that just because the Fire Lord is bad and pushing his nation and has brainwashed his nation to conquer doesn't necessarily mean that all Fire Nation people are bad. We see that through Go and Iroh, as a perfect example of good Fire Benders and Fire Nation people. But we actually get a lot of like Earthbenders who try to use Aang for their own means, who are considered bad people. You get that old guy in that Boiling Rock, not Boiling Rock, first prison episode. Who sells out an Earthbender because after he saved the old man's life, and there are bad characters in Avatar: The Last Airbender that aren't from the Fire Nation, but the main one is bad. Like the main villain is a bad guy, so we never get a main villain that's a fire bender aura, which is a nice thing to do. They've had it bad for a little while, so still. Uh, but yeah, as I was saying, so they kind of elevate Korra as the avatar by kind of pushing down Aang as the avatar previously. So some of the things that happened is that first, so Amon, first like major villain of Korra, is an old enemy of Aang. So Aang was still not decisive, and they fixate on that like thing, that non-decisiveness in him that they kind of didn't pay off with Fire Lord Ozai because he got just an out, so he got the spirit bending and could take away people's bending. But then as a result, he's never decisive, like justly decisive by like killing enemies that have caused like a great deal of trouble. On that, they fixate on that. They also imply that he was a bad father because he had to restore the airbending line of succession. So when two of his kids born and didn't have and weren't airbenders, he kind of just neglected them completely and focused wholeheartedly on Tenzin, who is an airbender, which is something that Aang would never do. Like we know Aang as a character, he would never be neglect. Like he does not come across as the kind of guy who would be neglectful of them, no matter if they had airbending or not. That the spirit bender guy who we only see, yeah, in Legend of Korra, you see him without the mask at some point in a flashback, but it's not important because facilitate that. Oh, Aang bad, or Aang wasn't as good of an avatar as we thought. He made mistakes. Oh man, God forbid he make a mistake. Hold on, Firelord Ozai is that spirit bender asshole? No, no, he's not. That's not a big reveal. He's not. He's not the spirit bender. The Amon. So to kind of spoil the first season of Legend of Korra, Amon is stopping people's bending by he's a water bender. So he actually didn't lose his bending when Aang took it away in quotation marks. He didn't lose his bending. It came back slowly over time. However, he used his Aang being neglectful. Bruh, the more I hear about Korra, the more I just don't want to see it. Yeah, exactly. one of the reasons why I didn't. I mean, they butcher some like more characters as well. I'll talk about that in a second. But so Amon doesn't lose his bending, and he's a waterbender, but he's also a bloodbender. So what he does by removing people's bending in the series is that he actually just blocks their chakra. And you could see with, it's established with Ty Lee in Avatar that when your chakra is blocked, you can't do bending. And so that was what he was doing, blood bending. He was basically blocking chakras that they couldn't bend. And so as a result, there's actually no consequence to Amon's like thing because basically Korra gets her bending taken away, and then like, oh, it's just. I mean, this isn't true. And gives it back to her. Like, ugh, it's just crap. Uh, but then another character assassination. Kara, who basically spent her entire life fighting being kept in one place, being basically imprisoned to a tradition and to a to a cultural tradition, that being that female waterbenders were healers. That was it. In Legend of Korra, oh, and also she hated the idea of being trapped in like a cage, essentially. Hated that Aang was raised, like locked away from all of his airbender, various things like that. In Legend of Korra, she's complicit in having Korra grow up in a compound and not allowed to go outside. We don't see Aemon in Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? No, we don't. So when took away his bending, it was after Avatar: The Last Airbender happens, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's after Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's when Aang is like in his 30s, essentially. So well after. What else? I mean, Zuko's pretty much as he is. Uh, like he is as expected to have been. That he's still kind of awkward, but he's wise and he has learned from his mistakes and things like that. And he's a good Fire Lord. He actually hands down the title of Fire Lord to his daughter when he can no longer be make the responsible decisions for the nation. And he's actually a very wise and um, just leader. And then Toph goes in and lives in a swamp. It's really dumb. After being the head of the new police force in Republic City, after being done with that, which also she would never do because hated authority. And now she's the head of the police force. So, yeah, a bit wild. And then basically after retiring from that, she goes and lives in the swamp. I don't know that the adult Ang show should be good, but they have to somehow explain how it ties Korra, and I don't know if I care. It's not going to be good. That's the thing. Because the problem is it'll suffer from that season 4 itis that we've talked about to death on these like streams. That it will suffer. It'll be season 4 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and there will be no stakes. It'll be like when they tried to resurrect Dracula, essentially. Oh yeah, we got like 4 minutes, so close enough to go and keep at it. staying on just a little bit longer. Somebody's going wild with a saxophone. Can't just cut it off. I feel like low five. Seems to be. Of being in charge of a police force, bro, how do they fuck this up? This is easy stuff. I mean, honestly, I can actually kind of forgive in that she didn't like authority, but being able to shape the new age of you know what's right and what's wrong probably would have been her jam. That I can kind of like be okay with, and also enforcing kind of peace, I think actually fits her quite well. So on one hand, I actually don't mind that change or that addition. So for soccer, has there just been a bunch of fan theories for however many years about what happened to him? No, so apparently he died protecting um, the next Avatar. So it's implied he died protecting Korra. However, given no play in flashbacks, there's one flashback of him, and that's about it. And then you get a mention that he died protecting Korra. And then there are more fan theories about the potential that one of Toph's kids is Sokka's kid, and that they may have had a relationship at some point, but never confirmed. And honestly, I don't know if it matters. Essentially, it's just like because they just erased Suki, Legend of Korra, so it's like, well, it's probably fan service. Some people were just like, oh yeah, Toph and Sokka, it makes so much sense, despite him having no chemistry with her. It was he had a crush on him. He died protecting Korra off screen, anyways. So about Korra, we're doing this and this. Creators of Korra probably, yeah, probably. And once I've told you all that stuff, so all of the changes that or additions that they made to original gang, or yeah, the original gang, Legend Avatar: The Last Airbender. Then to tell you the next bit that series relies so heavily on their presence, other than Sokka and Su. So in the first season, not an episode goes by where one of them isn't seen. Well, where Katara or Aang is not seen or involved or harped back to, actually. And then anytime Korra has troubles or issues, it relies either so heavily on Tenzin, Aang and Katara's son, or a member of the original gang, including Aang when she's in the Avatar state. Sure, Toph had a crush on Sokka, but last I checked, him and Suki were like a match made in heaven. Yeah, absolutely, but yeah, they wanted fan service. That was all that mattered. And it sucks because it's like, you can't just erase Suki. Suki was maybe one of the best men by relying so heavily on their presence, like how in Skyrim, if you don't do something for a faction, that if something is a go to gal, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just the dumb and needless addition. You're supposed to. It can't really have your cake and eat it too. Where you go, this is a new avatar. Not forget about Aang, but like Aang isn't important in this, and then Aang being critically important in it so often. Yeah, you really can't have your cake and eat it. Only doing fan service because you need those butts and chairs. Like in the Boiling Rock arc, one of the best, by the way. It is fantastic. Yuki then captures the coordinate on her own handedly, and then she has a rematch with Azula. Yeah, exactly. A lot of her like growth as a character happens off screen, so we are kind of, but we're always given an instance or an understanding that she's grown and gotten stronger for various reasons because she is that dedicated to aspects of things that happen in the very limited time that she has in the series. And so we believe it. We believe that she has been working on getting stronger and stronger and stronger for when she faces it again, things like that. Fantastic. It's really good, like characterization. We get so like genuinely so little time with Sue, and then but we still feel like that the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender got more machinery and industrialized, so it feels modern. Yeah, um, that I can, and I know that people take. Some people have criticized the rapid development in Legend of Korra. I think that's a bad point against it because for the most part, it's very like genuinely representative of real life. That rapid industrialization is pretty accurate to the time period from Avatar: The Last Airbender to Legend of Korra, as is in real life. That rapid development happened in our actual history. The only thing that kind of ruins it is in season four or season four, I think, where the villain has a mech. That's the only thing that kind of ruins its own point. That the villain gets a mech. Yeah. Also, yes, Toph had a crush on Sokka. Loves him. Only cross Serpent's path to Sokka was okay. That isn't love. I don't know what is. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, and it's also. I mean, the Moon Spirit one doesn't matter. She the Moon's. Oh, one thing actually talking about Spirit. One thing I actually genuinely hated and makes me kind of sad about the implication for the Legend of Korra that another character who is routinely brought back is Uncle Iroh. However, Uncle Iroh went to the spirit realm, so his mortal body died or moved on, and he went to the spirit realm where he could be with this be in the spirit realm and see the spirit realm and all that jazz. However, this implies, well, on one hand, it's also really kind of gross that they kept using a character whose voice actor had died, because Mako, the voice actor for Uncle Iroh, pass away. Uh, just before season 3 of Avatar: The Last Airbender, they had a voice, like they had someone stand in for him. That was fine, but they have a voice, like they replace him with his double for the entirety of Legend of Korra. He shows up quite regularly to offer advice to Korra. But the gross implication to this is that because Iroh goes to the spirit realm, he will never see his son again. In the afterlife, he will never see his son. And there is something deeply saddening and deeply grim about that. What's more, you can even further imply that he will never see Zuko again. Because Zuko's now an old man, and when Zuko dies, he'll go to the afterlife, spirit realm, see Zuko or his son again. And that actually feels gross. They decided to do that for fan service, keep him away from ever seeing his son again because they want to have one of Avatar's most popular characters in this series. I'll say it's accurate in what would happen, but going from Avatar: The Last Airbender, where the Fire Nation are the only modern ones, everything is modernized everywhere in Korra, so maybe the rapid development was done too fast. I don't know. It's accurate. Like, so the thing is, it's pretty damn close to accurate. In terms of everything that they have. You know, they only just have automobiles, they only just have planes, they have blimps and things like that, which some of these things, these other developments that didn't really take off in our, you know, like in our version of the world, take off because they have bending. And I really like that. The only thing that I dislike is that huge mech in season 4, which doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. It does not work, and it's fucking weird. Um, yeah. So that's an iffy scenario, but bringing Iroh back, holy shit. Iroh in Tales of Busting Say is so sad. Oh my god, yeah. So how can Iroh not see his son again? I believe you, but how? So the spirit realm. So Iroh didn't die. His spirit went to the spirit realm, where all those spirits are, like Ko and Ko the Face Stealer, and I can't remember the others, but like spirits. Those spirits of nature, spirits of time, spirits of things like that. He went to that realm, and it is made abundantly clear that the spirit realm and the afterlife for humans are two different places. If Iroh can't leave the spirit realm now that his body is gone, because to be able to leave the spirit realm, you actually have to have a body to return to. A villain having a huge mech is so cheap. It's just like the technology does not exist in our world at all. Like to the extent that it is in Legend of Korra. So that's a leap for me, and that's why I dislike it. It just feels like a huge leap, and it just doesn't work for me, and I can't. I find that hard to believe. I find it unconvincing, so to speak. But yeah, so basically, yeah, with Iroh and not being able to see his son again, he can't go to the afterlife now. He's now immortal in the spirit realm. But he cannot go to the afterlife because afterlife requires him having to have a spirit to go to, or requires him to be dead, and he can't leave the spirit realm without having a body. So now that his body is long decayed, he can't return to it, and thus he can't leave the spirit realm. Oh yeah, okay. So why the fuck would he go to the spirit realm instead of the sun? Okay, oh, yes, I agree now. Yeah, it's such a weird writing decision because like I know that he loves Zuko, but there's no that he would choose an eternal life in the spirit realm over seeing his son again, son who he adored like so deeply. It's maddening. It's so weird. But with that said, we're actually done with the page. We have finally finished. We have finally finished page 5. Give that a quick save. And with that said, we'll export it out and then we will jump on and raid to somebody. I love talking Avatar The Last Airbender. And I might actually watch Legend of Korra just to understand it all. So obvious that he would go to the afterlife. Yeah, he would choose to go to the afterlife. Oh, we're also given an instance with Legend of Korra that Aang definitely didn't kill General Zhao, and this is also why I know that if you die, if your body dies and your spirit's in the spirit realm, then you're fucked. You're trapped. Because Zhao appears in the spirit realm. And so it's implied that the water spirit that grabbed him and pulled him under the water didn't kill him, it took him to the spirit realm. But his body is gone. And adored enough that he'd cry and sing to his son every birthday, as we see in Tales of Ba Sing Se. Yeah, exactly. Iroh is not a man who would just forget his son or move on from his son. He loved him dearly, so it doesn't make sense to me. Okay, let's see who's up. Enya Fairy, Suited, Just Ellie, Stephen Preston, Zell, Liam, OS, Jaggedy, Bai Chan, and Farah. Mouse, would you be down if we watched Korra together? If not, that's completely fine, but I'm just putting it out there. I mean, I wouldn't be against that. We did like a watch party. That'd be kind of fun. I wouldn't hate that idea. I'd be up to do that. It also helped me get through it. Well, here's the thing. I could always stream. I could always set up like a little overlay for my streams, and then I set up like watch party on my computer or something, and then I could watch it without it being on the stream and without it, recording sound. And then if people wanted to watch it in the VODs, they could actually watch it as like an audio commentary. We'd also want to see if any of his ancestors, because yeah, that's true. He had a big thing about his ancestry too. Yeah, you're right. All right, who are we gonna raid? Oh, sick, I'll message you in Discord about it. Sweet as. I'd be down. Who's doing stuff? Traditional Tuesday. At least we would suffer through it together. Well, I need someone to wake me up every so often, because I do find it quite boring. I feel tempted to jump to Suited. Because she's currently working on a comic. Because on your own, you're not watching that shit. That's also fair. That's also fair. Suited's doing traditional art. I'd be down. Let's jump to Suited. I also want to congratulate her for funding her comic. Let's do that. Is there an ad? There is an ad. That's fine. That is fine. Just wait for the ad to go through and then I'll jump and then we will raid to Suited. Alright, ad's over. Alright, I'll see you guys on Friday where we're playing more Dredge. I'm actually super excited to play more Dredge. I've really loved that game. But with Avatar The Last Airbender fans such as you, then I can try to get through it. Yeah, we'll try to get through it together. That'll be fun. But anyway, see y'all on Friday. Let's do some more tugboating when we do it. Bye-bye. See y'all when I see y'all next. Bye-bye.